A manifesto is a roadmap for how a political party wants to run the country during the next parliament. It is their mandate to rule. However, we've seen it before and we've seen it again now. These promises, these manifesto pledges, are not binding. They should be. They are what gives a governing party legitimacy. But having broken 3 of his manifesto pledges in one day and inflicted more hardship on low-paid workers rather than taxing the rich, Boris Johnson's government should no longer be legitimate as they seek to tax work instead of wealth. Is he going to call a general election now that he's shredded his mandate to run the country? Of course not. Boris Johnson has a massive majority and can do what he likes. However, the question of breaking manifesto pledges is a big deal because it means he lied to the country in order to get elected. It's not like Keir Starmer can exactly force the matter on that point either, given that he lied to the Labour Party to get elected leader himself. His 10 pledges have long been ditched and he's done nothing but attack his own party, but he's also failed to offer any alternatives. And again, that's the case here, crowing that the Tories can no longer call themselves the low tax party, but failing to offer a plan of his own, not even to tax the wealthy, which ironically even the wealthy are calling for. It's pathetic, and the public will warn to him no more over this than they have over anything else. The attack on national insurance is a vile one. The Tories promised it would not be raised, and they've done it anyway. Work is the route out of poverty. They've said it for years, a lie as it was then, but now it's even more dishonest as they tax work instead of wealth. Johnson might well be blaming the pandemic for needing to do this, but when his plans will bring in an estimated £36 billion, most of which is going to the NHS, in actual fact, not social care, so it doesn't even fix the social care crisis anyway, but you can't help but think, hang on a minute, test and trace cost £37 billion. You didn't put up any taxes to pay for that. And you'd be right, because taxation to pay for stuff is a myth. When we as a sovereign country with our own currency can print however much cash we need for whatever we need it for. It's called quantitative easing, and we've been doing it for years. That is exactly how test and trace was paid for. Numbers typed into a spreadsheet. Magic. Now you start being charged national insurance before you even start paying income tax, meaning it's the lowest paid, and often that means the youngest workers on the most rubbish of minimum wage that are getting clobbered by this. There are people scraping by. Many won't even be able to do that, relying on food banks more and more and working to earn their poverty and not working to work their way out of it, as so many Tory mouthpieces have promised before. Now, even more people will be affected adversely. The money they spend goes straight into the economy as they spend what they get on food, on utilities, on essentials, all the things which keep our economy going, unlike the wealthy who just hoard their wealth, which does absolutely nothing to help the economy. By removing some of what little cash they have, it reduces their spending power, and that is harmful to the economy. It is counterintuitive. It is destructive. This is why so many have said this national insurance rise will actually damage the economy. Reducing spending power shrinks it. We have to spend for it to grow. Further compounding this will be the withdrawal of the £20 universal credit uplift. Energy bills set to rise £139 a year on average. Furlough ending combined with COVID spiking, which we know will disrupt work. We've seen it before now. We know what's going to happen. We've seen it before. So things are looking very scary indeed for those on the lowest incomes. Now, national insurance is also only paid on earnings and profits. So anybody making money from annuities, who own a business, from investments or from property rental, they avoid it completely evade it, along with anybody on whatever wage still working past retirement age, because you only pay it up until retirement. Anyone earning over £50,000 only pays 2% national insurance as well, instead of 12% as everyone else was up until this rise. It is a wicked tax. It's unfair on so many levels. That amounts to an assault on the poor and the young, and this 1.25% hike in it will make it even worse. It could have been so different, but the way to pay for this is to hit those with the broadest shoulders. And when UK billionaires have added more than £100 billion to their wealth in the last year, they can afford to pay this 3 times over just on what they've made on their already exorbitant wealth. Why can they not fit the bill? Many are calling for it. 1/3 of what they've added to their wealth in the last year would raise what Johnson is projecting. It doesn't even have to touch their own capital. So why can they not pay it? As it stands, 2.5 million households, the poorest working households, look set to lose an average of £1,290 a year in the next tax year. All families that can most ill afford it. It is a depraved move by bottom-feeding, money-grabbing, big-bucks-worshipping maggots for whom greed is their god and the wealthy shielded from paying their share. A 10% tax on the wealth of everyone who has more than £100 million would raise £69 billion. Is that not fairer? It legitimately would fix social care as well as inject more cash into the NHS, though it remains to be seen if it's the NHS or private contractors running former NHS services who actually benefit from this. The devil is always in the detail with the Tories, and there's a certain trust issue when it comes to these lot as well. Now, why are the poor having to pay for the rich? Why is it work being taxed instead of wealth? There is no other way of viewing this. The Tories are prepared to betray their voters, betray their mandate to rule, to do this. But it's not even the only example of pledge breaking that day. By apparently having to do this to pay for social care, Johnson's manifesto commitment to plan for social care during the 2019 election, he said he had a plan. It's been proven to be a lie. He never did at all. If pensioners who wouldn't be hit by the National Insurance clobbering thought they were protected, they'd be wrong, as Johnson has decided to scrap the pensions triple lock for a year. Anybody really think it'll ever be put back in place? Only right before the next election as a sweetener, perhaps. You can bet on that. That or a promise to reinstate it, but actually never ended up getting around to it because trust again. Why honestly would you trust a Tory manifesto ever again after this? How about after you have to sell your house to pay for social care? Yes, even with all these cuts, all these shattered promises, you'll still have to stump up to £86,000 a year to pay towards your social care. The Tories promised nobody would have to sell their homes to pay for social care, but who has that kind of cash not locked up in their homes? And if you don't own your home, what then? Now, 86,000 is a cap on the costs, and it only kicks in after the first £100,000 of a home's value. But when the remainder of the property value is divided up as an inheritance to your loved ones, a wealthy homeowner sat in a £500,000 property in the south is going to leave a damn sight more to their family than the owner of a house somewhere in the Red Wall, who will leave scarcely anything behind at all. Again, it's war on the poor. It's a class war. Protect the wealthy, guard their wealth, hammer the poor, hammer those in work. They either don't vote for us or don't vote at all anyway, so why should we care for them? That's what the Tories think. The poorest people across the board are paying, so the richest don't have to. This is what happens when you elect an elitist fool without the faintest idea of what life is like for ordinary families. Not that he'd give a damn if he did. He only ever thinks of himself after all. Johnson doesn't give a damn that he's broken so many promises and wrecked his mandate. He is a serial liar that couldn't lie straight in bed, and anyone believing a word he says really is a fool. How many times has he got to lie and deceive before you realize, hang on a minute, this guy's not for believing? The question now is, are we just going to take this, or are we going to do something about it?